Hey everyone, happy Monday. Hope everybody's having a great day. Had a couple things I wanted to cover today. Mainly in regard to, I wanted to clean up one thing that I said earlier this week, or earlier last week, which was, I think I made the statement that a certain state, who I will not mention, can receive mail-in ballots beyond a 7-day period. It is, in fact, mail-in ballots that are postmarked by election day, on or by election day, can be counted up to 7 days later, which is, again, still ridiculous. But I wanted to clear that up. I did get that wrong. I think I said it could be up to 30 days or whatever, but it is, in fact, 7 days, but still. The other thing I wanted to hit on really quick, again, I will not mention the state, but I will just ask people to look up the last time a third place candidate gave a concession speech and then ultimately ended up surging days after the election was held. Seriously, like, just look it up. Use AI, use any AI you want, use OpenAI, use Grok, use anyone you want to. Do some deep research. I think you'll be surprised by the information that you find, or lack thereof. Spoiler alert, it's never happened. It's also never happened that a third place candidate surged in votes over the first place candidate, just by mail-in only. Again, yeah. But at any rate, I wanted to talk about something else. I think that's way more interesting. And I'll put the caveat in here. This is not financial advice. You make your own decisions. You invest your own money. And you do what you want with your own money. I'm just reading off some facts. So in the next coming days, on the 12th, SpaceX is going to go public. There's a generational opportunity for people, potentially a generational opportunity for people to make an investment, a long-term investment, I will say, not short-term. I would definitely not do a short-term play, but a long-term investment on SpaceX. I will say, just as someone who's been following just Elon's companies, just generally speaking, starting in 2015, before Elon got political and all this other stuff, I'm a car guy. I'm not a EV guy, per se, but just following the company and its growth trajectory, and its track, it's hard to deny that that particular company, Tesla, is not a company you should not invest in. It is definitely a company you should invest in. Again, not advice. You do whatever you want with your own money. I made the decision in, I think, late 2015, 2016, to invest in Tesla after looking at their financials, looking at their car sales, and then ultimately kind of where they were kind of tracking from the perspective of opening new factories in China and then ultimately in Europe as well, that there's gonna be significant growth there and there's significant demand for Teslas in general. Ultimately, I have a house because of, partially because of that investment. But I will say SpaceX is another interesting one that I know the media is going to try to play up, and they're going to try to do the anti-Elon thing. Not a good idea, by the way. Betting against Elon has not worked out for anybody out there. But SpaceX is interesting because right now they're producing around between $15 and $18 billion in revenue annually. That'll all be released. You can see the prospectus online. But that was 2025. That was up significantly from 2024. They've got really a couple different segments of the business which are interesting and will continue to drive accelerated revenue. They've obviously got their Starlink business, which is broken down into kind of 3 different areas, which is consumer residential. They've got their hardware segment. They also have government contracts as well. But they've got roughly between 9 and 10 million and growing accounts, active accounts, internet accounts that are producing revenue. It's significant, and that's only growing as the Starlink constellation goes to cover more and more of the globe. There's going to be more and more areas, especially areas where maybe modern wired broadband access is not available, where these places are going to just eat it up like hotcakes, and they already are. There's the launches segment of the business with their rocket, their Falcon 9 or Falcon 9 Heavy. That represents a significant amount of revenue to the business. They are the leader in launches globally by a large margin. I will say a lot of the launches that SpaceX does is in support of their Starlink constellation. But the other business that they have through other commercial accounts and government is significant. And I would say the Starlink constellation itself, Starlink service, is a very high margin business. The launches business is a relatively profitable business. The only downside is there's a lot of R&D right now because they're building Starship and the booster. And so a lot of the money that they're taking in from that business is going into R&D. But again, significant amount of revenue that's coming in through that business. They also, with the acquisition of XAI, let's just say that is a significantly growing business. People are going to sleep on it right now because they're very anti-AI. I would say that is a bad idea, just generally speaking. AI it's here to stay, and it's only going to grow, especially as more organizations bake it into their overall business process. It's just the way that it is. We had horses, then we had cars. We had before the internet and after the internet, right? And the internet is going to do what the internet's going to do. But at any rate, the XAI business is interesting because both Google and Anthropic have signed multi-billion-dollar deals with XAI for excess compute capacity usage. They're paying billions of dollars a month to leverage the XAI data centers. That business is only going to grow. And by the way, there's a bunch of companies out there right now trying to start up businesses just solely around using or selling excess compute. And again, that demand is only going to go up. I mean, over time, what may end up happening is that, like everything within infrastructure, it'll scale down because you'll be able to get more capacity out of smaller and smaller units because it'll become more efficient. But right now, huge data centers, XAI is selling a ton there, and that business is going to continue to grow. Once Starship is up, then you have the new Starlink satellites, which are going to be going out, which are much bigger, and they're going to be able to provide more bandwidth. Then you have data centers in space, which is weird to think about, but it's going to happen. Right now, it's just interesting. People are like, how are they going to put a bunch of data centers in space? They don't have that expertise. They've got thousands, like thousands of satellites circling. By the way, here in North Carolina at night, the sky is so dark. You can see the satellites crossing the sky. It's kind of awesome. But just all satellites, not specifically SpaceX or Starlink, but just interesting nonetheless. But yeah, I mean, that business is going to take off. They've already solved the problem. They leverage heat dissipation and cooling for all of their satellites, which are up there right now. This is just scaling that up to a larger extent. And again, if you want to bet against Elon, by all means, go ahead, and you're going to be broke. The other piece I find interesting in relation to, well, there was one other thing, which is just the growth around AI, leveraging that additional compute space. But generally speaking, you know, I would say if you have a couple bucks sitting on the side, definitely, you know, maybe buy 10 shares. I don't know. You know, I'm putting in a little bit of money myself to get some shares. Again, I plan on holding for a very long time. I'm not a day trader by any stroke of the imagination. I'm looking for long-term investments where there's a lot of growth. And SpaceX seems to be like a company which has a lot of growth. Plus, there's also the talk, or at least the chatter around SpaceX and Tesla merging, which does make sense from an Elon perspective, because managing all of those companies separately is kind of a pain. And it just makes way more sense. The businesses are relatively aligned. They're just doing different things. And if you bring them all together, they're doing one thing really well, which is changing humanity, which is a very aspirational goal. It's pretty cool. But again, tell me what you think in the comments section below. You know, am I off base on SpaceX? They're going to market at a $1.75 trillion evaluation. They're currently doing between 15 and 18 billion dollars. That would mean it's basically 10 times earnings. So I would take that bet any day of the week. Also, just generally speaking, it's a profitable business already with a lot of money going into R&D. So, but yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, keep believing that the best is still ahead for America. Peace.